All right, let's talk about your factory floor. For years, the name of the game was just keeping your robots busy, right? Keep them moving, keep production humming. But that's old thinking. We're in a whole new ballgame now. It's not just about keeping your robots active, it's about making every single one of their movements smart. So let's dig into what that actually means for your operations.
So I want you to take a mental walk through your factory right now. You see the robots, you hear the machines, you see the parts moving from point A to point B. It looks busy, it feels productive. But here's the question I want to pose to you. Is all that activity really effective? Is your factory just busy, or is it truly smart?
Because, let's be honest, the old way of doing things just isn't cutting it anymore. We're living in a world where customer demands can pivot on a dime, and the market, well, it's anyone's guess what tomorrow brings. In an environment like this, every little bit of inefficiency, every wasted movement, every second of downtime, it's basically a hidden tax that's eating away at your profits.
Okay, so before we jump into any fancy new solutions, we need to do something fundamental. We need to define what winning actually looks like. What are the real goals? What are we trying to optimize for in a smart factory? Let's lay out those key objectives right now.
So here they are, the 7 big levers you can pull to create a truly smarter factory. Let's just run through them. First, minimizing total production time, or make span as it's often called. Basically, how fast can we get a finished product out the door? Then you've got maximizing the time your robots are actually working, and cutting down on transport time and energy. Those are your immediate cost savers. Now this next one is huge. Balancing robot utilization. This isn't just about squeezing more work out of them today. It's about reducing wear and tear so your multi-million-dollar investments last longer. Then of course, we want to kill waiting time for both the robots and the jobs. That's how you crush those bottlenecks that just bring everything to a standstill. Look, these aren't just abstract metrics on a dashboard. These are the absolute pillars of a lean, mean, profitable operation.
So, the big question is, how on earth do you juggle all 7 of those goals at the same time? It's a seriously complex puzzle. Well, the answer, believe it or not, doesn't come from a lab. It comes from nature. Instead of trying to force a solution with brute computing power, this approach takes a page from one of the smartest playbooks on the planet.
I mean, just think about it. For animals in the wild, efficiency isn't some corporate buzzword. It's life or death. The best hunters out there don't just work harder, they work smarter. They have a plan, they coordinate, they optimize.
And that brings us to this incredible strategy. The solution is literally called the whale optimization algorithm because it's based on how humpback whales hunt. It's amazing. They work as a team, swimming in a spiral and blowing bubbles to create a net that traps their food. It's this beautiful, natural example of finding a target and then zeroing in for the capture.
And the algorithm works the exact same way, in 2 simple phases. First, you have exploration. This is like the whales scanning the wide-open ocean. The algorithm looks at all the possible scheduling options, searching for the most promising areas, the best general approaches. Then, phase 2, exploitation. Once it's found a good spot, it stops searching broadly and starts to zero in, just like the whales tightening their bubble nut. It refines and refines, spiraling closer and closer to the single best, most optimal schedule. It's a brilliant way to solve a complex problem.
Okay, I get it. An algorithm based on whales sounds cool, but I know what you're really thinking. That's great, but my factory floor is messy and complicated. Will this actually work in the real world? And that is the most important question. This is where we see that this model wasn't just built in a lab. It was designed for the grit and reality of an actual production line.
See, the system is smart enough to understand that manufacturing isn't simple. It's built to handle 5 key types of real-world flexibility. It knows you might have alternative operations for a task, or that you can complete things in a different order. It knows you can use different machines or different cutting tools for the same job. It even accounts for different approach angles for the tool. The point is, this isn't some rigid cookie-cutter program. It's a dynamic system that understands and adapts to the complex choices you have to make every single day.
But this is the real secret sauce. The model actually includes the time it takes to change a tool or switch the approach direction. Now that might sound like a small detail, but it's everything. Most other scheduling systems completely ignore that stuff, and that's why their perfect schedules fall apart the second they hit the factory floor. By building in these real-world micro-delays, this model gives you a plan that isn't just optimal on paper, it's a plan that will actually work.
All right, let's get down to brass tacks. We've talked about efficiency and smarts, but what does this all mean for the number that matters most, your bottom line? Because all this clever modeling and real-world thinking has to translate into real dollars and cents, and it does.
You know, this quote from the research paper really nails it. It says that the balanced use of mobile robots may have a significant impact on the life cycle of the robot. Think about that. We're not just talking about making things faster. We're talking about making your incredibly expensive equipment last longer by not running it into the ground. That's a huge deal. So, what does that look like in practice? Well, the financial returns are incredibly tangible. First, a longer lifespan for your robots means you can push those huge capital expenditures further down the road. Second, less wear and tear means lower maintenance bills and, crucially, more predictable service schedules. That means less of that soul-crushing unplanned downtime. And to top it all off, smarter travel paths mean you're using less energy. Every single one of these things drops straight to your bottom line. It's about turning smart operations into a serious financial weapon.
So, I'll just leave you with this one final thought. This kind of intelligent optimization, it isn't science fiction anymore. It's not something that's coming soon. It's here, right now, and it's being used as a real competitive advantage. The question really isn't if your industry is moving this way, it's how fast. Your competition is already getting smarter. The only question left is, are you?